You're not looking at their potential. You're looking at your potential if you were in their shoes. You're mirroring what your actions would be based on your history, your experience, your knowledge, if you were in their shoes. Not what they could do, but what you could do. Hello, hello. How's everybody doing on this beautiful day? Man, it is just a heat wave. It is just scorching outside. 95 right now, 90s. Definitely not March weather, not spring. Technically, we're still in winter. It's another couple days before you even hit spring, but a winter, and it's nuts. So, staying indoors, keeping the AC cool. Hopefully, if people that have solar, you're not paying an arm and a leg for your power company to keep it cool, but it is what it is right now. Man, have I been the traveling man, let me tell you. Missouri, Pennsylvania, Houston, finally back home. I slept on my own bed and my lower back hurts because my lower back has forgotten what my own bed feels like. That's how much I've been traveling these days. It's been brutal. I cannot wait to be home for the next 3-4 weeks before we go out to the ISA Expo and I get to see all your lovely faces. It's going to be a lot of fun, especially with the new software launching at the trade show. Oh man, it's going to be amazing. Can't say it enough how awesome the new software is. My own team is drooling at the new toys that they have at their fingertips. It's just, can't say enough good things. When I was in Pennsylvania doing the Iron Oak, we had a evolution that the men had to go through, and the men had to go through and they had to pick who's going to be the leader and who's going to be this and who's going to be that. And as I was going there, I was like, man, if I was this guy, I would have done that. If I was this guy, I would have done this. And I'm looking at each guy and how I would have played out the evolution to been the most productive, most on point. And then I forgot this very, very good saying. And that's what I want to share with you guys today and talk about it. When you say, oh, if I was in your shoes, I would have done this. Well, you didn't do it correctly. I would have done it this way. Or, oh man, your potential, what you have in potential could be so. And you're looking at that person that you're talking to and you are trying to tell them what opportunities they have and trying to push them. That's actually an incorrect thought process, incorrect statement altogether. You're not looking at their potential. You're looking at your potential if you were in their shoes. You're mirroring what your actions would be based on your history, your experience, your knowledge, if you were in their shoes, not what they could do, but what you could do. And that's very, very powerful when you think about it, because all the time, you give your kids lessons, you give coworkers lessons, you're trying to help them push what they're capable of. But at the end of the day, you are seeing what you would do in those shoes. And that's kind of scary when you think about it, because they're not you. They don't have your experiences. They don't have your knowledge. They don't have your life lessons. They don't have the DNA that makes up you from all those life experiences. And so when you say, well, I would have done this, I would have done that, that's great for you, but not for them. So we got into this philosophical debate on what is correct. How do you lead people? How do you do this? And it fell back onto a different part of it. And we slowly rolled up to, well, who's the CEO? Now it sounds like a big leap. You're looking at somebody's potential, also you're looking at who's the CEO. So let me put the pieces together here for you. When you are looking at somebody, you are looking at your potential in their situation. And that doesn't work. You can't do that. But what you can do is you can share your experiences from them to them. You can share your experiences of what has happened in the past to you to make you think this way, and they can pick and choose what they want. Now, that's very difficult to do, because all of us all the time say, well, if I was in your shoes, I would do this. Well, that just created a paradox on many different levels. Number one, you're now higher than them. I'm smarter than you. I'm telling you what to do. You should just listen to me. Don't think for yourself. Do as I say. Nobody wants to be that person. I don't think myself higher than anybody else. I don't, you shouldn't. It's not how that works. This is just one human talking to another human trying to get to the next level. So you can give experiences. When I found myself in a similar situation, this is what I did. And you explain your experience. At the end, you can put a nice little bow around it and say, this is the good things that came from it. These are the bad things that came from it. But when you share your experience and you are not telling the person what to do, something magical happens, something really amazing happens. They get to pick and choose from your story what might work for them. You're not telling them anymore. You're giving them experience. They're choosing to take those knowledge pieces, what happened, those experiences out of your story. You might tell a story with 5 points and they're only going to take 1 or 2 of them. That's great. That's fine. They still got something to take away from and learn and try on their own terms, their own layout. What's really funny, going all the way back to this evolution we had the men go through, they each chose what they're going to be. They're going to be the worker bee, they're going to be the leader, they're going to be the thinker, they're going to be this, and they all kind of work together on this evolution. And it brought it to the next philosophical thing that we talked about out there was, how do they decide? And were they okay following? And they struggled a little bit because they basically, let's not lie, we had a bunch of alpha males and they're not used to being betas. And when the time comes, it's an alpha at all times. And so they kind of struggle with the power struggle and what's going to happen there. And the evolution was designed for this. Let's not lie. We kind of pit them against each other to make sure they could realize when it's time to follow and when to lead. And it was the purpose of the evolution. But here's the fun part. When you are meeting with a team, or you're meeting friends, or you have acquaintances, or new people you bring into your life, most people do what we just talked about. They look at them, they put themselves in their own shoes, and they say, man, you could do this, 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 and this, and you put yourself in their shoes of what they could do. To actually see the person for who they are, that takes some talent. To stare at them for exactly who they are, their faults, their great gifts that they're given, everything in between, and know exactly who they are. That takes some talent. That takes some getting to know. Because when you meet people, you always put yourself in their shoes. But the reality is you should stare at them with who they really are. If they're a quiet person, don't try and make them an extrovert. If they want to be a quiet person, accept them for who they are as a quiet person, an introvert. And then, and here's the real kicker, you have to be the CEO of your own life and put them in the right category necessary to make your life move forward. So even though they picked a leader and they picked worker bees and all that stuff to get the assignment done, in the end of the day, they still were the CEO of themselves and of this life. Not everybody can be CEO of a company, less than 1%. The stomachs, the pains, the aggravations, the stress level, everything in between of being a CEO, guiding the company, make sure everything happens, move forward on this one, say, here's our next place that we want to go to. Here's what we should, shy away from, a new vertical in our company. Let's ditch this vertical. It's not panning out the way it is. To make big decisions like that takes some huevos, some be strong. I mean, that takes a lot. And you got to be okay with decisions you make. Most people can't. That's why less than 1% can be CEO. But 100% of the people on this planet need to be the CEO of their own life, their own world. And that's what I feel that some people are not doing. They're not taking control of their own lives. Number one, everybody that's in your life, accept them for who they are. It's not your place to change them. It's not your place to tell them what they're doing wrong and to go somewhere else, but just grade them for where they're at and then put them into the category that they should be in. I do it at work all the time. I do not tell people what they could be. They say, where would you like to see me? I'm going to tell them what I'd like to see them do, but it's their decision to jump through those hoops and to go through there if you want to. And then once you know who they are, put them in the right category that best fits for them. Right person, right seat. Put them where they want to be or where they need to be that they're going to thrive the most. Let's not lie. Not everything we have in this world is exactly what we thought it was going to be. Some of us thought we were going to be the center fielder for the local baseball team that we're, always been rooting for. Life didn't happen that way. We end up getting jobs and doing whatever. Sometimes we're in positions or jobs that we don't like, or sometimes we're in the jobs that we really love. But at the same time, the people that are around us, we must always figure out what box they really fit into. And then from there, you need to figure out how they're going to add to your life or complement your life. If they're draining on you, draining on the company, draining on you personally, that's probably a person that you should put in the box of, I get beers with them once a month, or I just hang out with them here and there. It shouldn't be a daily thing because it's pulling you down. Again, you're the CEO of your own life. As I have been using this thought process, this theory, and going through, there's a couple things I always laugh at because it's not a perfect machine. I've recently given, in the last 4 months, my calendar invite to one of the people that are helping me, especially with this podcast. It actually has a great idea. The gentleman with the podcast, and he goes, hey, I'm going to book everything for Wednesdays. I can't really do anything on Wednesdays anymore. They're just booked. People I'm meeting, people I'm talking to, what's going on. And my Wednesdays are pretty much gone. I think I have 3 hours of my 10-hour day is just on this podcast and working it. I am not the CEO of my world anymore on Wednesdays. I've given that power to somebody else. Is it a great thing? Well, yeah, he's booking everybody and there's these great customers coming on the podcast. But for me, my Wednesdays are gone. How am I going to handle that? Well, he's doing a great job. We just need to confine the time limits of when I can talk and when I can't do, so I still have some of my Wednesday left. So even as you're the CEO and delegating and working on this one, there's still refinement. I'm still learning this. I think it's going to be an ever process, like the perfect golf swing. I'm going to attain it for just a little bit and I'm going to lose it again. I'm going to start working on it again, But I will say that if you look at everybody in your life, categorize them how they are, not how you wish they would be, I got a feeling your life's going to be a lot easier, because when you do that, you're not making false promises to yourself. They're not living up to it. There's a chance that they're not going to live up to the standard you put in your head. And now they're the problem and not you. They didn't ask to be held up to that level. You put that in your own head. But if you look at them for who they really are and not what they could be, I got a feeling your life's going to be a whole lot easier. We were watching frustrations in the men during this evolution, and you could tell a lot of them had made a mistake. They put people in categories of what they could be, not who they really were. It was an interesting evolution. Gained a lot from it, even as a coach, just staring at it over on the outside, looking at it going, wow, this was a neat evolution to go through. But I really like that story. I like that. I want to share it with all you guys. Talk to you next week.